Um, she and along with many others, of course, are wondering about Trump and what's going on there. What are your thoughts on the venue changing in DC right now, right?
Oh yeah, oh well, that's intentional. That's definitely meant to convict him. I mean, he will be convicted. That's not, but unless the Supreme Court steps in beforehand as part of the appeal process. But he will be convicted. This is a puppet court. This is his third indictment. And make no mistake on that. The charges are, ironically, of the 4 charges, what was missing, of course, was any insurrection charge. Now, that's huge because there was some concern that the charge itself or its inevitable conviction in a corrupt D.C. court would prevent Trump from running or even being elected. I'm glad we don't have to have that debate. I don't think it would have, but it would have been part of the debate. DeSantis would have used it as part of his I think, incoherent strategy of relying on these indictments to get the nomination. But that's off the table now, which is good because obviously they didn't have it. There was nothing there that they could use. When you read the legal analysis of people like my namesake, Jonathan Turley, is my go-to source for legal analysis. Alan Dershowitz, of course, is very good. Robert Barnes is excellent. They all believe that this is, without a doubt, one of the poorest, most pathetic cases they've ever seen. And that Dershowitz said it was the worst. It was the least plausible legal case he's ever seen in his entire career as a Harvard Law professor and as an attorney. Turley's argument is that this is basically the prosecution free speech. You might have heard that. So, in other words, this corrupt prosecutor Jack Smith's case is entirely predicated on the notion that Trump knowingly lied about the election. He has to do that because he knows that were he to try Trump declaring what he believed to be true, he knew that would be a violation of First Amendment. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to say, well, Trump was a charlatan. He was a charlatan that was pushing what he knew was a false conspiracy theory. And the irony is one of the sources he cited for why Trump knew what he was saying was not true was because the Homeland Security's cybersecurity division told Trump that they saw no evidence of anything of the election getting stolen. We now know via the Twitter files that the cybersecurity division was working very closely with Twitter to censor and silence opposition against Biden during the campaign. So it's so bizarre that he actually cites the source that he thinks proves his case when in point of fact it actually proves Trump's case. It's very odd. It's not working. Turley doesn't think it's working because, number one, even if Trump were absolutely delusional, nobody on this planet believes Trump doesn't believe the 2020 election was stolen, because it was. All right. So no one actually takes this notion seriously that Trump was lying, that Trump really knew, oh, yeah, no, this was the most impeccable election ever. And I'm just going to go and have a hissy fit and a temper tantrum, and I'm going to go and lie. No one believes that, number one. Number two, even if he were lying, as I understand it, even if he were lying, that's not a crime. If it doesn't involve material instances like signed contracts and so forth. It's not a crime. Otherwise, Adam Schiff would be in jail. If knowingly lying is a crime, then every member of Congress would be in jail. Every politician would be in jail. So that's Turley's point of view. Dershowitz has gone farther. I might do a video on this tomorrow. I'll sleep on it and I'll decide tomorrow morning. Dershowitz thinks Jack Smith can be indicted. Dershowitz actually thinks this case is that bad. I don't know all the nuances yet, so I have to read it and see. But Dershowitz is saying that as I understand it, Jack Smith could actually end up being arraigned for this because he's deliberately interfering in a democratic process and denying Trump his First Amendment rights to be able to speak freely during an election in terms of the case or anything specific to the case. And he's saying the same with Merrick Garland for approving it and signing off, and they could both be indicted. At the very least, I think they need to be impeached. That's for sure. But both Turley and Dershowitz believe, as does Barnes, they believe the Supreme Court is going to step in here at some point and totally dismiss this whole sham kangaroo court. It's beyond ridiculous. I mean, you had multiple judges. I don't know if you heard about this, but you had multiple judges. This will tell you about the change of venue. You had multiple judges, DC judges, showing up at the arraignment, which is totally inappropriate. You're not supposed to bias yourself in a proceedings. You're supposed to be a completely disinterested judge and not be involved in the proceedings in another court. So they're all sitting there joining in and cheering on the arraignment of this president. Other Washington judges, several of the federal judges of the district court, they just filled the back row, as I understand. Even the chief judge, James Boasberg, even he was there. Every single one of them, in my view, needs to be impeached. That would be like NFL referees showing up, at a football game. Say they're gonna possibly referee the second half of a football game. And they show up with one of the team's colors, that's competing. I mean, it's insane. So in the end, most believe that if Trump is ultimately convicted, which he will be if it's not tossed out before then, the conviction will be overturned almost immediately by a conservative majority in the Supreme Court, which they did with Bob McDonnell, the former Virginia governor, which is the last guy Jack Smith tried nonsense like this with. I understand Jack Smith's convictions get overturned a lot. So SCOTUS will throw this conviction out. Turley thinks they'll get involved sooner. We'll have to see. But no one worth their salt is taking this third indictment seriously.
But first, gang, I got to tell you, I was utterly shocked when I was recently shown just how easy it is to access the deed to my house, and not just access it, but change it. I mean, if you don't know, the deed to your home is the only document that proves you own it. But the problem is that the deeds to all our homes are now online, and criminals are free to find our deeds, forge our signatures, refile as the new owner of our homes, take out tons of loans using our home's equity, and then stick us with the debt. And by the way, if you think homeowners insurance is going to bail you out, you got another thing coming. But that's where our good friends over at Home Title Lock come in. Gang, they're absolutely amazing. Home Title Lock gives you the peace of mind that the deed to your home is absolutely and completely protected. Click on that link below right now and use promo code Turley Talks. And all you have to do is enter your address for your no obligation home title scan to see if you've already been a victim of deed theft. I mean, that's $100 value, absolutely and totally free if you use my promo code Turley Talks. Gang, don't wait for the worst to happen only to regret that you didn't do something about it when you could have. Click on that link below right now and secure your home today.
You mentioned this a bit, but Leonti Popov, I think that's such a cool name. I hope I'm saying that right. He wants to know, what do you think about Trump pleading not guilty to 4 counts? I mean, what else would he have done? I can't imagine that he would have pled guilty to anything.
Yeah, no, you're right. Exactly. No, that's part of your right to a trial and so forth. No, he's not going to incriminate himself. He would only incriminate himself if he got that sweetheart deal that Hunter Biden got, but and then get a slap on the wrist in the end. That's when you plead guilty. But it is standard procedure to plead not guilty because you don't act as a witness against yourself. That actually comes from as I understand it, pleading the fifth comes from the Christian tradition of Christ not speaking before Pilate. So you never have to incriminate yourself. And so that's a standard plea, and it's all part of the process. We're literally watching Banana Republic third world stuff happening right in front of our very eyes. And that's why I said in one of the videos, this is sort of the not Rodney King. Listen to me, I'm dating myself here. This is a George Floyd strategy of the Democrats. They know they're losing. Okay. Larry Sabato of Crystal Ball, University of Virginia, the guru pollster of the Democrats, He hates Trump. To him, Trump is the Antichrist. He sounded the alarm on Monday that the Democrats are going to get wiped out. This is a Democrat pollster. Okay, he won't claim it, but he's as liberal as they come. And he cited a New York Times Siena poll that just came out, and Biden and Trump are tied 43-43. New York Times Siena poll, Trump and Biden are tied 43-43. Think big deal, because we've got a lot of polls where Trump is ahead, right? And that comes back as well. The reason why Sabato is so freaked out is because Trump never even came close to sniffing a lead in a New York Times poll in 2020. The final New York Times Siena poll in 2020, what was it, November 2nd, November 1st of 2020, was Biden +9. It was 50-41%. This is the same polling methodology. This is the same polling samples, the same weights, the same adjustments. And now Trump and Biden are tied, with the possibility, again, with the margin of error of Trump even being ahead. And so Larry Sabato said, you know what that means. If Biden only won by 30,000 votes between Georgia, Wisconsin, and Arizona in 2020, had 30,000 votes gone the other way, Trump would be the president. If a +9, if a Biden +9 only yielded a margin of 30,000 or so votes, a Biden-Trump even is a Trump landslide. It is a Trump electoral landslide. And by the way, we've seen that with every single poll out there. I've talked about this. Quinnipiac, Harvard Harris, Emerson, New York Times, CNN, all of them show a double-digit swing towards Trump over Biden since 2020. So make no mistake, this is why they're indicting Trump and why the Democrats are even testing Newsom right now. You heard that Newsom is going to be debating Ron DeSantis on the national stage. That'll be very interesting. They're testing Newsom. They're testing him. They want to see if he can hold his own, and then they're going to get rid of Biden because they know Biden cannot possibly win without massive fraud. And the very fact that they're indicting Trump shows they don't think they can pull that off. That's my view. That's my view on that. And then other Democrats are coming out and panicking because it's not just like the New York Times Siena 50-50 poll where they're both tied at 43-43. Now we have poll after poll after poll after poll showing that particularly the Harvard Harris polls, the last 3 Harvard Harris polls, showing Trump was as much as 7-point leads. We have the echelon polls that are coming out, battleground state polls, with Trump with 6-point leads in battleground states. Again, you have to understand, Trump never led in 2020. Not in these polls. He never led. He never led. Not even in 2016. Hillary, was going to be a cakewalk. Remember, this is all coming out because this was all Joe's, Ukraine-based retirement plan. That all this corruption that they're trying to cover up, they're having to cover up because Hillary lost. Hillary was supposed to win, and no one would ever have known about this, ever. Because the media, of course, wouldn't do their job. Well, they do their job. They're just a propaganda wing. So anyway, so you get, hopefully you're getting the big picture here. They are doing everything they can to hide the panic when they're in front of the cameras. But, Trump did this, J6, racism, blah, blah, all this sort of stuff. But in the end, their actions betray their disposition. They are horrified because they know if the recession happens, which it looks like it will, hence the downgrade today. You all saw that, right? If the recession and the downgrade happened, largely the AAA down to AA+, if the downgrade happened precisely because a recession is around the corner, no president has ever won re-election with a recession in the final 2 years of his office. So they know Biden is toast, and that's why they're doing it. And they know that no one can stop the Trump And so that's why they're doing this. They'd rather burn the whole system down. They'd rather burn down our entire constitutional order than have another 4 years of Trump.
Well, you mentioned Hunter Biden there at the beginning of your answer. What are your thoughts on Devon Archer?
Yeah, that was amazing. That was so cool. And then the follow up with Tucker's. Yeah, so so Devon Archer's the former business partner to Hunter Biden, right? He appeared before Congress. I believe it was Monday, if I recall, and just dropped bombshell after bombshell in his sworn testimony. First and foremost, Archer confirmed that when Biden was vice president, he got on the phone with Hunter's business partners more than 20 times, like 24 times, totally contradicting Biden's absolute denial that he ever had anything to do with his son's business dealings. Now, again, the key there is desperate Democrats are trying to make the argument that Devon Archer, his job was to give the appearance or the illusion of access to Biden. We now know that as part of the questioning, the pro-democratic questioning in the behind-the-scenes testimony that Archer was giving, it was the Democrat that used that term. That was it, in your opinion, that he was supposed to give this illusion, your supposed access. And Devon Archer was absolutely clear. No, Biden meeting with business partners was part of the brand. That the brand was central to the brand. The brand was, if you hire Hunter and me, Devon Archer, in these equity ventures, if you invest in us and so forth, you have access to the second most powerful person on the planet. That was it. It doesn't matter whether what they discussed, the weather or what, doesn't matter. That's a Clinton. I did not have sex with that woman. Sexual relations with that woman, as defined by that definition. I never talked about business with Hunter Biden. It doesn't matter. You were there. And that was part of the selling point. So, for example, Archer pointed out that Biden met with a Russian oligarch, the billionaire widow of Russia's mayor, Yelena Baturina. Yelena Baturina. And when she was in Georgetown in DC. And then shortly after the visit, she ended up investing $40 million in Hunter Biden's real estate ventures, and then ended up paying Hunter $3.5 million in consulting fees. And then it's just a coincidence that this Russian oligarch somehow did not get sanctioned by the U.S. government last year, even though virtually all other Russian oligarchs did. Right. But of course, she and Sleepy Joe were just talking about the weather. Right. So that's the key. It wasn't even just the corrupt access and the money, the profit they were making. It turned into policy. He wasn't just selling himself. He was selling American foreign policy. And of course, the huge one was the Ukrainian energy company Burisma, that you guys all, I'm sure, know now. They were paying Hunter $83,000 a month to sit on the board after Viktor Shokin, the Ukrainian special prosecutor, started investigating Burisma. They put Hunter on their board, and then they immediately pressured him, hey, you got to get your dad to get this investigator off our back. Next thing we know, we have one or two of these executives from Burisma, Ukrainians, testifying they had to pay Biden's $10 million to get Joe to do just that. $5 million for Hunter, $5 million for Joe. And then they go into these Byzantine-like business accounts that make it very, very hard to trace the money. And then, of course, we know within weeks, Joe Biden, he confessed to it at a Council of Foreign Relations meeting, that he withheld $1 billion of your and my tax money until the then Poroshenko, the president of Ukraine, fired this prosecutor, which he summarily did. So he's as corrupt as they come. We've got a letter of Joe Biden written to Devon Archer telling him, hey, I'm sorry I couldn't talk with you more. Can't wait to meet you more. I'm so glad you're doing this venture with my boy. All that kind of stuff. It is as corrupt as we've got him. Now the question is how insane. And by the way, the polls show that. The latest Rasmussen found that 60% of likely voters believe Biden is part of an illegal cover-up to hide his involvement in Hunter's illicit business activities. That number is only going to go up as more and more revelations come out. So the question is just, again, how much do the Democrats want to just burn it down and look ridiculous, and how much does the media want to look ridiculous? So